I recently added a tutorial to my online bag making course on how to make this beautiful top handle bag. The tutorial that I did is actually in a really gorgeous brown leather, quite similar to this one here, but I don't have it with me because I actually gave it to one of our team members, Victoria, for her 30th birthday. But what I will say is that as soon as I finished it, I was addicted and had to make more. So I've got another black one behind me over there, and this red one, which I made for myself, which I've just been absolutely loving. So for a full step-by-step tutorial on how to make this beautiful leather bag, you can have a look inside my online bag making course. But I'm gonna give you a run through now of how I made it, just to give you a little taste of what's involved. A few things to note about this bag is that there's actually not that much hardware involved. You've got a double D-ring here on the handle, and that's so that if you want to, you can clip on a crossbody strap. It's also got a magnetic closure on the inside, and I added some little feet to the bottom, which I just love for putting it down. But that, of course, is totally optional. The other thing I really like about this bag is that it fits way more than you'd think, because it does actually open up quite wide on the side there. And as you can see on the inside, I've got my crossbody strap, which has a couple of little swivel clips on the ends and some Sam Browne poppers there so that I can make it longer or shorter. It's also fully lined with an inside pocket as well. So as always, whenever we're doing a leather handbag, we have to start with our patterns. Now, it's so important that you first of all print your patterns at 100% and use the scale checker as well to make sure that they have printed to the correct size. And it's even more important that you cut them out perfectly, because if anything isn't quite cut out perfectly, then the pieces just won't fit together. This really comes into play when we look at the punch holes for our hand stitching. So if the punch holes are a little bit too close to the edge, then your stitches could come undone. And if they're too far away from the edge, then the bag just won't look very neat. So precision when it comes to cutting and preparing the patterns is essential. Last but not least, I like to back my patterns onto a slightly thicker card just so that I can reuse them in the future. Now, once we've cut our patterns out perfectly, we then need to cut out our pieces perfectly. And this is more important than ever. So I'll typically use a little bit of double-sided tape to hold the pattern onto the leather perfectly, but you should always do a test on your leather to make sure that it's not going to remove any of the finish or leave a sticky residue. If you can't use double-sided tape because your leather won't allow for it, you can go ahead and just use some pattern weights. Once you've cut out your pieces, you'll then need to punch your holes. And again, I can't stress this enough. They need to be perfectly matching the pattern so that all of the pieces will fit together perfectly. And once you've done this, we can get started making. So I always like to start with the front panel that goes down the center of the bag and the base. Depending on the leather that you've chosen, you may want to add some reinforcement to these pieces. In my case, I did, because I just wanted this bag to feel really nice and structured. So I first started by reinforcing the back of those leather pieces. I then inserted my magnet into the front panel. I also added feet into the base at this stage, but again, this is totally optional. Now, this is an important one. You do have to edge dye these pieces before you stitch them on, because if you do it afterwards, you could get paint everywhere and it'll just end up a big mess. So before you do any stitching, you're going to want to edge dye those pieces and make sure that the holes are punched all the way through. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and stitch them in place. I always do the front panel first so that the base can go over the top of the front panel, and that's actually quite important because otherwise you'll have a little bit of an overlap that won't look very neat. At this stage, I like to add in my little D-ring tabs at the top of the bag. I'm not going to put the full handle on just yet, but I am going to attach the hardware just so that I can say that main piece of the bag is all assembled and ready for me to move on to my lining pieces. Next, with the lining, all you need to do is stitch on the lid section, which should have the other side of your magnet on it. And if you want to, you can also stitch in an inside pocket. Once the lining's all prepared, you can go ahead and attach it to the main body of the bag. Now, before we do any stitching, we're gonna need to prepare our sides. This involves attaching the lining to the back, stitching in our little pinch at the side here, and then one at a time, very slowly, stitching each side onto the main body of the bag. At this point, your bag is almost finished. I like to add my first coat of edge paint at this stage so that can be drying whilst I start preparing my top handle. I like to add in a little bit of additional foam or cork or vegetable tanned leather onto the inside of the handle just to give it a bit more structure, but again, that's totally optional too. Once your top handle is prepared, you can go ahead and stitch down the sides, paint the edges, and then stitch it onto the top of your D-rings. Once your top handle is on, your bag is technically finished. If it does need an extra layer of edge paint, now would be the time to do it. And typically, if you wanted to make yourself a matching crossbody strap, you can also do that at this stage. But that is it. That's a quick run through of how to make my top handle bag. I also recently took this one on a trip with me to Morocco, and it just really elevated basically everything I wore and made me feel really put together. So yeah, love this bag. It's already been well used, and I'm sure will be for years to come as well. I hope you found that useful, and if you want to watch the full step-by-step tutorial, you can find that all inside my online bag making course. Hi, I'm Amanda, and I thought I would give you a quick bit of information on my online courses. I run both an online course on how to make your own leather shoes from home and how to make your own luxury leather handbags from home as well. They're totally separate courses, so if you're only interested in one and not the other, you can enroll in them individually. But if you are interested in learning about leather accessories in general, you can enroll in both courses as a bundle. The shoemaking course has over 50 hours of video tutorials spanning across styles like sandals, shoes, sneakers, heels, right up to boots. We cover custom fitting as well as download print and go patterns and all the information about the tools and supplies needed to make your own shoes from home. I've been running my shoemaking courses since 2010, and we've already got over 2,000 people worldwide enrolled in our online shoemaking community, and it is growing every day. My bag making online course is a little bit younger than my shoemaking one. However, it's just as good. I've got various different styles, including bags made on domestic sewing machines, as well as luxury hand stitching techniques. My bag making online course has already got 10 step-by-step tutorials, as well as luxury techniques such as edge dyeing, hardware, reinforcements, and bag accessories. I even have a section on small leather luxury goods. If you're interested in getting started but not quite ready to make the commitment just yet to the full course, I'll leave some links somewhere around here for my 2 free introduction courses, one of them on shoemaking and one of them on bag making. And if you are ready to make the full commitment, keep in mind you will have full lifetime access to the whole course, so you can pick it up and put it down however often you please. That's it from me. I always love to hear from you, so if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out anytime.